Is not a strategy. Tune in to Wealth and Wisdom with Gary Goldberg Saturday mornings at 7 here on KMOX.
News, traffic, and the latest from the world of sports. This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
It's Monday on Rush Hour Sports. Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here. Hello, fellas. How we doing on this Monday, man? It was a great weekend. I don't know about you guys, but my thumb hurts from changing channels between all those games. But that was a blast between baseball, college football, and the NFL. I am worn out. It was a great weekend.
I want to say a thank you to Matt Pauley because we basically watched the Air Force Navy game together.
Oh, nice.
Texting back and forth, and I had a ball. So it was a great game, and then there were a lot of other great things happen over the weekend. And yeah, I was deep dive into everything over the weekend, including baseball. So it was awesome.
I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of people in these parts who understand and appreciate Service Academy sports, and Bernie is one of them.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand it until I spent 6 years of my life working at the Air Force Academy and being part of the broadcast teams there. So I have a distinct appreciation, as does Bernie, because of his appreciation for Navy. You know, I'm all in on streaming stuff, but the one thing that needs to get figured out is when you're just on cable, you can flip back from one channel to another.
Yeah.
In streaming, if you're going from Paramount Plus to Peacock to wherever, you got to exit the app, open the new app. Go, like that's the one issue that I have with streaming. I would like Roku or somebody to figure something out where you could do some more flipping back and forth.
Yeah, well, it's going to mean having two screens, either two TVs or maybe an iPad in front of you or something like that. That's the only way to do it, unless it's like you're watching broadcast, but you're using YouTube TV or Hulu, in which case you can flip around. But you're right, with the ones that are spread out, that is tougher to do, and you got to make a commitment. Yeah. You got to make that call to be on the one place. That's actually a good segue into what I wanted to open with, because obviously we all watched a lot of playoff baseball. ESPN released the ratings. The numbers are huge through the wild card round now into the division series, and some really interesting factors. And this is not just the playoffs, because the numbers were up on all of the national games for 2025 during the regular season, and they're up with young fans. So for the playoffs, ESPN announced that viewership is up 89% for fans under 35. And you look around, the numbers are doing really well. So I'm curious as to what you guys think is driving some of that, but also what you think is driving the younger viewers. And I think, I have ideas, but I'd rather kind of kick it off by throwing it at you guys, because I'm glad that people are enjoying what's been a really good year.
I don't have an answer. I assume it has something to do with there's so many more different ways to watch a game or monitor a game.
Yeah.
Seriously, I mean, I don't have to go down the list of ways to watch a game now that weren't in existence 15 years ago or whatever. So I think that has something to do with it. I think this stuff is also very fickle. I don't really trust it. I used to laugh at all these stories that were written about this. The sky's falling. Yeah. Like there's like 9 people watching baseball game, and I never bought that crap either. So I don't really. I apologize to both of my friends here. I don't have much to add here. I really don't.
The only thing I would add, and I do think there is some things that are just sort of luck and the fact that people can go, but there's a lot of stars involved in this year's postseason. For years and years and years, Mike Trout was the best baseball player walking the face of the earth, and he was not really participating in the postseason. Well, he has now been eclipsed by other players who are the biggest stars in baseball, whether it's an Aaron Judge, whether it's a Shohei Ohtani, whether it's a Bryce Harper. You can just go down the list of these teams that have stars. And we talk from a Cardinals perspective, we have this conversation about attendance, because people will love to tell you, oh, if you change the manager, if you change this, if you change that, attendance is going to go up. You need stars. So that same thing applies to TV ratings. You give me stars, and I think baseball has done a little bit of a better job recently in promoting those stars so people know who they are. If stars are on TV, people are going to watch.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think baseball has embraced personality. for the first time in its history. And it's not just like the last 2 years. It's been slowly going this way, but it takes some time to build up. And in addition to the TV ratings, by the way, the numbers on KMOX for the Cardinals and on TV were also big. So it's not like Cardinals fans are tuning out. They're just not going in person because obviously they're making a statement of some kind of, and it's their own statement depending on the individual. But also, this is the third straight year that attendance went up in Major League Baseball. That's the first time that's happened in a decade, that they've had 3 straight years of increase. And it's the third straight year that they've had more than 70 million fans coming out to the ballpark. So what I think is really interesting and fun, and that's, by the way, that's even with the Cardinals suffering a pretty significant drop, right? So it's not like all teams are up. Teams are always moving up and down. But I think the sport is in a good spot. And one of the reasons I want to bring this up is I hope they don't screw it up. I hope they don't go into a work stoppage in a year because they all want to fight instead of figuring out the best way to move forward that's fair for everybody so you don't blow this momentum.
That would be typical of Rob Manfred to do, though.
It would be, yes.
And I think, listen, I'm giving this more thought, so I apologize. I didn't have much to say, and I'll be quick on this one. I definitely think, as someone who records a lot of games, I have YouTube TV, and I DVR every baseball game that's televised. And one of the reasons I do is like, well, I can't watch it live, but I can watch it on my time. And the games are shorter now.
That's right.
Yeah. And then if you have them on DVR, even though they're shorter in real time, you can really shorten them up by just going through the commercial breaks or going through a dead inning or whatever. And I think that the pace of the game has got to be a factor in the improved TV and streaming numbers.
Agreed.
I'm worried about one thing. I'm worried about a lot of stuff, but I'm worried about this specifically. So Major League Baseball took a huge misstep because they tried to get more games nationally broadcast, and they started doing them at a discount. That Sunday morning game on Roku, the Friday night Apple deal, stuff that I like. But ESPN said, hey, these guys are paying 1/10, 1/15, 1/20 of what we're paying, and they're basically getting what we're getting just in a different window. What's up with that?
Yeah.
And ESPN and Major League Baseball walked away. Now they're kind of walking back together. ESPN's going to have some midweek games. They're going to have some local rights, stuff like that. But the big ESPN package, Sunday night baseball, things like that, not going to be there. So people right now know where to go get their playoff games. In the first round, it's ESPN, it's Fox Sports 1, it's the Turner channels. Like, the people know where those things are. And now next year, in the regular season, like Sunday Night Baseball is going to be severely discounted on an NBC because they've got the NBA on a Sunday night window at the end of their season. You've got football at the overlapping with baseball. So you're only going to have Sunday Night Baseball on actual NBC for 3-4 months of the year, and it's going to be on Peacock the other nights. Major League Baseball had to replace the money that they're losing from the big ESPN deal by signing multiple smaller deals with streamers. I think the Home Run Derby is going to be on Netflix next year, if I remember that correctly. So all of a sudden, they had to sign 2 or 3 deals to make up for the one ESPN deal. So when we talk about the national ratings up during the year, well, is that going to be the case next year when people don't completely know where to go? It's going to look different in the postseason. There's going to be more on streaming because Amazon's getting involved. There's a lot of momentum, but there's also, it's a kind of precarious going into next year.
Yeah. So first, a lot of that stuff, the idea is going to be they want to clean that up in 28, right? In 2028 when these deals are up. And it sounds like ESPN might be the new home for the MLB service, for the MLB.TV service. And ESPN Plus will be where they place that. And then everybody can get all their local games. But they still have to sort that out. That's still an MLB thing. They got to get all the owners on board with that before they can do it. But I just thought it was cool that, the playoffs have been fun. There's excitement. There are some not underdogs, but some, teams that don't have $300 million payrolls that are rocking and rolling. And I'm happy that the business is going along with it. And that brings me to a discussion that I want to pick up with you guys on the other side of a quick break. And that is having a roster that's versatile. We've talked a lot about the Cardinals having a lot of similar players, right? A lot of redundancy, a lot of the same types of guys. And I'm noticing that a lot of these good teams have a little bit of everything. So we're going to kind of break that down and talk a little bit about that coming up next. It's Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Rush Hour Sports on KMOX.
Hey, St. Louis, this is Ben Barnett, board-certified master arborist with Timberline Professional Tree Care. In my nearly 30 years in the industry, I've seen firsthand what damage falling trees can do to your property. The sad thing is that most trees that fail
McCausland's stop and go pockets. It's slow though from Ignite all the way to 270. Top Golf most of the way to the Boone Bridge, busy stretches, and then Lake St. Louis Boulevard out to 70s heavy. Westbound 70, you've got some slow stuff Earth City to the Blanchette, but after that, it's really not that bad. North and South 270 between Clayton Road and Olive is pretty busy. Southbound still a little slow at Manchester and at 44. Southbound 55, a little off the pace, Gasconade Bates, and westbound 5570 still a backup midway in from 255 to 111 due to road work. I'm Roger Brand in the MichaelsFlooringOutlet.com Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. A winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Enter now at overheaddoorstlouis.com.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
That's Rush Hour Sports here on KMOX. Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on a Monday. Tomorrow, you'll have Bernie and Matt. I'll be ghost hunting tomorrow night, you guys.
Mid-America's most trusted voice for news. KMOX AM St. Louis.
There we go. Got that out of the way. I'll be ghost hunting tomorrow night with DGS for our Halloween show. So you guys get to keep talking sports, and I'll be looking for the spooky guys.
Don't get
good luck.
Something. Yeah, I don't know.
I got nothing to worry about. I'm a ginger. We don't have a soul. That's a joke. So. It's a South Park joke. Sorry. All right, let's get back to baseball. And we're constantly trying to. At least I am. I'm always watching the playoffs, and I'm thinking, how does this idea apply to what we've been talking about with the Cardinals? How does this idea kind of teach us something about where it's going? I think it's been an interesting thing to watch philosophy evolve, guys, in terms of offense, where a lot of teams that have sold out for power in the past, and they've put together a team with a lot of big bats, but some swing and miss, have started to seek more balance, and they're seeking more guys like a Brendan Donovan, guys that are a little bit more contact oriented to match that. So not getting rid of power, but looking for more diverse abilities in their day-to-day lineup. And I find it strange that we run hot and cold with these things, right? We want all guys that throw hard or all guys that miss bats and don't get enough innings. And I think that the idea of these specific skill sets, but especially the one that's putting the ball in play. If you look at the recent college grads that are the top tier guys, Nick Kurtz, you look at Travis Bazana, you see these guys, they're always hit tool, JJ Weatherhold, hit tool first. And then obviously power comes along with that with an increased hit tool. I'm going to be curious to see how long it takes the Cards to maybe achieve that, to add what they need to complement what they already have in spades.
Well, this just reaffirms something I already knew, which is nobody listens to me apparently, because I've been talking about for weeks now, and specifically the Cardinals, how they're going to be moving in the direction of putting a greater emphasis on bat to ball skills and high contact rate. And this is where the game's going to be trending. And again, I'm being a jerk, but I've been saying this for weeks. Because it's pretty obvious that that's where it's going, because you got too many guys throwing 100. I mean, it isn't like you have one guy on a pitching staff. It's like 4 or 5 guys, 98, 99, 100. And it's really, you can run into one and you can hit a home run. But then again, you have a lot of guys like Nolan Gorman, who are going to strike out 35% of the time, and they'll hit their share of home runs. But is it really worth it? And so, yeah, there is going to be a greater emphasis on putting the ball in play. And I think that that's overdue, but the game always adjusts. It always adapts. But with the Cardinals standpoint in general, there is nothing about the postseason that applies to them. No, I'm being sincere.
You're right.
Because they don't have talent.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough talent. They don't have power. They can't play small ball. They can't use speed because they don't have much. They're not athletic. They're very limited with their starting pitching. They actually have a bullpen that would be elite in the postseason, but there's nothing that really applies to the Cardinals, because it's sad, but they're incapable of implementing any kind of philosophy because they don't have the talent to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of going to, just chime off of what Bernie said here. I chuckle when we have this conversation, because there's not they gotta go back to ground zero on this thing. And you know what? If they just want to go all in on power, well, at least maybe they would have some true power. They don't have that right now. If they want to go all in on guys who truly make contact, okay, just do something. That's the problem with where they're at right now is they are very, very limited in having any offensive player that has a truly elite skill set in any area, any tool. It just doesn't really exist right now.
Right. And I think part of that has been what we've not overdone, but we've talked about a lot, because it's the main thing, is their shortcomings on player development, because they have the physical abilities, right? Yeah. We see guys with bat speed. We see guys with power. We see all that. But what you don't have is the ability to correct flaws or to get guys when they're young and say, all right, this is what you need to do, but you need to be able to do this before you get to the big leagues and not learn it when you're in the big leagues.
It's an
I agree.
absolute.
That'll help. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, Bernie. I don't mean to step all over you, but
brother.
just the fact that you've got Lars Nootbaar, who is a StatCast darling. You have Jordan Walker, whose bat speed. I mean, elite doesn't even
It's
start
Aaron
to
Judge.
describe that. It's ridiculous, his bat speed. You've got these guys who some of the underlying numbers say they should be elite, yet going back to what I just said, they don't have any hitter that's really elite at anything.
And what I'm going to say here really seems like a cheap shot. I swear to everyone, I don't mean it that way, right? No, I really don't. The Cardinals have some smart players, right? But their collective baseball IQ is just not very good. It's not a smart team. Now, people, of course, I mean, the way it works in our town is if like someone orders a sandwich and they get the order wrong, it's Ali Marmel's fault. So, I know how that is. Everything's his fault. So, but it's just not a smart team. And that compounds the problem. The Milwaukee Brewers, in terms of their hitting approach, which is very versatile and they can do whatever they need to do. It's a really, really smart group of hitters. Which Cardinal hitters do you think are really smart? I think Donovan is.
Yes.
But then again, Donovan is always caught in between. Sometimes he wants to be a slugger. Then he wants to, no, I better draw walks and get on base. He doesn't really commit to anything. So I don't know what's going on there. So I don't know. I just don't think there's enough talent, and there's not enough different ways to beat a team, beat an opponent, because you can't hit for power, you can't run, you don't steal bases, and there's not a lot of sharp instincts up and down that team. There's just not.
I've had a couple conversations with Ivan Herrera about hitting, and he strikes me as somebody who has an approach every time he comes up to the plate and kind of knows what he wants to do and knows his body and knows everything. And I haven't had a lot of those conversations with a lot of other guys. I'm not saying that they don't go about it the same way. I just know from my personal experience, talking hitting with Herrera a little bit has been good.
Yep, good stuff. All right, we're going to shift to football coming up next. It was a great weekend. Saturday was chaotic again. You had bad teams beating allegedly good teams, although maybe some of these good teams were overrated from the word go. But this coming weekend, guys, is phenomenal for the area teams. And we'll start. I don't want to wait till Friday. I want to kick some of this around today because these are such big games coming up. Mizzou has Bama. I mean, like, that doesn't get a hell of a lot better than that. Illinois got Ohio State. Indiana's got Oregon. It's going to be some good stuff. Looking forward to that. We'll start doing a little bit of talk about that and then the weekend that just happened coming up on Rush Hour Sports.
Now, 90 and 60. A look back at the latest St. Louis City
Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Bernie Miklasz here on behalf of Saliga Heating and Cooling. It's a Daikin comfort dealer. And I wouldn't be speaking to you about Saliga Heating and Cooling unless the Miklasz family not only has 17 years of experience of calling Saliga Heating and Cooling to help us, but we've been exceptionally pleased because they're so good. They're so great, I should say, at what they do. And I also love the fact that you have the Saliga family continuously has been taking care of St. Louis family since 1927, and they're going bigger and better and stronger than they ever have been. And they've always been bigger and better and stronger. That's why so many people continue to call him. They're getting new clients all the time. And I think that's smart because I can attest to the fact that, Saliga Heating and Cooling, as far as we're concerned at the Miklasz home, we fully appreciate their knowledge, their class, their integrity. They don't hustle. They don't try to talk you into stuff. They're patient. They explain things. They look for less expensive solutions instead of trying to talk you into the most expensive thing right away. They just don't do it. They're just so good about explaining all of our options and all of the different solutions based on price. And the one thing we have found is when they tell us, no, your equipment is good. We came out and checked it. It's good. You don't have to worry about it now. We just caught a little something that we fixed. It was a tweak. It's nothing. It's the expense of it is nothing you're even going to be concerned about for a minute. And that way you're going to get more extended life out of your equipment because of these maintenance checks. And that's why you should also join their priority club. We're members of that, Saliga Heating and Cooling. That maintenance program extends the life of your equipment. It has extended the life of our equipment, and we have saved a lot of money because of it. You also get some perks, including priority service. Just a great family business helping great St. Louis families. That's Saliga Heating and Cooling. For more info on all that they do and the phone number, go to SaligaHeatingandCooling.com.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need hair.
and silver plates. Before you sell, call SNL 314-544-3600. 314-544-3600. SNL Coin.
Rush Hour Sports continues on 104.1 FM, KMOX.
All right, Bernie Miklasz, Matt Pauley, Kevin Wheeler with you here on Rush Hour Sports on KMOX. We're going to move to some college football here. And guys, obviously the three big games I listed before the break, obviously Illinois, Mizzou, Indiana. And we're mentioning Indiana because of proximity, but also because that's two top 10 opponents this week in the Big Ten, meeting each other with them in Indiana. Those three all have huge games. I definitely want to start the ball rolling on that. But do either of you have anything from this past weekend that stood out to you that you feel is like, man, let's get to that?
I thought it was a rather light game. I enjoyed watching some games, but nothing really had me on the edge of my seat. I was stunned like most people, even though, Penn State's kind of a joke. I can't lie. I was absolutely floored that they lost to UCLA.
Same.
But to me, the highlight, maybe because it's personal, was that great Navy and Air Force game.
Yeah.
It was the most entertaining game I watched. And I was glad that the Illini were able to take care of business because I thought that was a real trap game.
Yeah, I think it was, Bertie. I think it was, but they just responded well.
They did.
I finally got one right on my Florida-Texas prediction. Seems like every week
You nailed
something
it.
and Bernie disagrees, and Bernie's always right. But I don't know if he disagreed with that loud. But other than that, yeah, nothing really struck me from the weekend other than the Penn State. I mean, that's the most shocking thing that happened was Penn State losing to UCLA. And that's the type of game that if Penn State has a little bit of a down season this year, and actually they fell all the way out of the AP poll with that loss, that's the kind of loss that gets coach fired.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from the weekend, obviously I'm happy that Miami beat Florida State because that makes it a good year just by itself. But I'm getting a little sick of some of these big name coaches just whining all the time. It was Lincoln Riley a week ago because we got to play early. And now it's Steve Sarkisian. He's like, oh, well, I wonder how many teams could actually go win if they had to play Ohio State and Florida at their places. I'm like, brother, South Florida beat Florida at Florida. You're Texas, man. You get paid $10 million a year because you're supposed to be the team that can do that. Stop whining.
You would have never
100%.
heard. Mac Brown would have never, like, the great Texas coaches, and there have been many of them, those type of words would never come out of their mouths.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, Arch Manning's not very good. I think he'll be fine in time. He's not very good, but again, national media that covers college football, it's all about the brand name and it's all about the helmet decal. And I was joking with someone. I said, this is like the perfect storm because you have the Texas Longhorn, helmet decal. They got the badass mascot. And then you add the Manning brand name, right?
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden you have, this is the greatest team that's ever been assembled. Oh, my gosh. I was so excited. I can't catch my breath. Texas is so great. Bevo's going to have fun. It's like now you have a Manning who's going to be like college football Hall of Famer probably after 1 year. Except they don't have an offensive line. It's young, it's inexperienced, it's mediocre, and they can't run the ball.
Nope.
So, and I realize like everything's about Arch Manning. And again, he stinks. He'll get better, but he stinks. But the situation he's in is pretty lousy because Sarkisian didn't put the right kind of offense around him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway,
I get sick.
Go ahead,
I
Matt.
get sick of the college football media looking at what Bernie just said.
Yeah.
Looking at the helmets. It's actually, and I know Paul Feinbaum is a honk for the SEC. That's his job. But it's actually one of the things I appreciated Feinbaum when Mizzou and Kansas played because SEC Network was going to send all their stuff to some other place because it was going to be a league game in the SEC. And it was Feinbaum who stepped in and said, what are you guys doing? Missouri, Kansas is one of the great rivalries in all of college football. And if you don't know this, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's got the oomph to be able to force them to go somewhere else. But there's not enough people like that who really understand what's going on in college football.
Yeah, I mean, we all know, like, it's been history, right, that the preseason rankings tend to be about last year, right? If you were good last year or good in previous years, you're going to get some benefit. But, I mean, we're into October. That shouldn't matter anymore. Texas had no claim at being as highly ranked as they were. Penn State didn't have a claim to being as highly ranked as they were, but it's just you got the right logos, you got the cool uniforms, you got the name, and then when you lose or when you're not what people thought, they're like shocked. Well, you shouldn't be. I mean, if you've watched the games, you'd know those teams weren't top 10 teams.
Yeah, and I squawked about this before, so I'll keep it short this time, but the idea, and listen, man, Mizzou's got a 7-game stretch now to close the regular season. It's got a lot of potential trouble there. So I'm not going to, I'm not predicting that, they'll lose just one game. They got this covered. No, this could be tough. We'll see. But the idea that this was not a top 25 team in the preseason, or they were picked 12th by the
ridiculous
SEC media, this burned into the brain. Name brand bias of college football is the worst thing about college football. And I really get tired of it.
Could not agree more.
In the AP poll, they're still just the 8th best SEC team. I mean, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Tennessee are all in front of Missouri right now.
Of course, right?
I mean, I don't know. Like, we'll let it play out on the field. Maybe that's right. At least they are in the top 25. All those teams that I mentioned, I think, are good teams. But I feel like Mizzou. I think Mizzou beats some of those teams, even on a neutral field.
Yeah.
Can I throw something in real quick? I did a video on the Mizzou Alabama game and how exciting it is, and can Mizzou hit them in the mouth and win that game, or will it be a step back or whatever? Their season doesn't depend on it, but it's kind of all right. Are you guys for real? This is your first really, really credible test. That's kind of the outside perception. But who I think is smart? Who is starting to realize Mizzou's actually pretty damn good? It's the people who bet on college football games. You know why? The opening line for this game was 6.5. Alabama favored by 6.5.
Yeah.
It quickly went down to 4.5. Then it went down to 3.5. This morning it went down to 3. That is incredible movement on a game line.
I'm looking at 2.5 right now.
2.5 now.
Well,
yeah.
Now it's going down to 2.5. As of yesterday morning, it was 6.5.
Yeah.
And so I also looked at the percentage of all bets made and all the percentage of all the money that's been laid into this game so far, overwhelmingly on Mizzou's side. And so the gamblers are usually the first ones to actually figure stuff out because they're putting money on it. They have something on the line. They're not lazy media people, So, So I like the fact that the investment community, as I call it, really has taken notice of Mizzou and really is treating them with a lot of credibility.
All right, one more segment to go. We're going to finish it up on these games. So Alabama, Mizzou, as we mentioned, is a 2.5-point spread. Illinois is a 14.5-point underdog at home. And then obviously the other big game in the Big Ten is Indiana and Oregon. That's number 7 against number 3. And Oregon's a big favorite at home. Why not that big? Only 7.5 at home. So that'll be an interesting one. We're going to get into those next up here on Rush Hour Sports.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas.
here or continue north on 170, whatever you need to do there. Westbound 64 west to McKnight out to Lindbergh is slow, but after that it's wide open. Westbound 70, a little slow stuff right around Zumbel Cave Springs. Eastbound 70 downtown, they were clearing an incident east of Grand in the right lane. Still a little bit of a backup congestion running through there. Northbound 270 approaching Olives a little slow. Other than that, just that roadwork back up westbound 5570 approaching 111. I'm Roger Brand at the Michael's Flooring Outlet.com Traffic Center.
This is Rush Hour Sports on 104.1 FM KMOX.
All right, a few minutes left. Bernie, Matt, Kevin hanging out with you guys till the top of the hour. Hey, we got Kansas City Chiefs football starting at the top of the hour. No Sports Open Line tonight. Pre-game tonight starts at 6. And then obviously the Chiefs and the Jacksonville Jaguars on Monday Night Football starting just after 7 o'clock. Just want to point that out for a programming note. So for these games that we just mentioned, the three big ones, obviously the point spreads are bigger. Illinois is a big underdog at home, 14.5-point underdog at home against Ohio State. Indiana is a little bit less than that, but 7.5-point underdog at Oregon. Certainly Mizzou is closing the gap, as we just talked about. What are the odds we see an upset in one of those three?
I like Mizzou's chances. I'm going to make an official pick later this week on my video at STL Sports Central, but there's a lot to like. There are some, whether it's Sports Info Solution, and I got a lot of proprietary information there on college football trends and a lot of metrics. Mizzou gets a lot of check marks over Alabama in a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
The one thing that concerns me, and no surprise to Mizzou fans, is that Mizzou's pass coverage is as bad as it appears to be, very poorly rated. And look, that's a problem when you have Ty Simpson, who gets rid of the ball pretty quickly. He can zip it. He can throw deep, make any kind of throw. And you have Ryan Williams. I mean, that's the one thing that could actually mess Mizzou up, their chance to win.
Mizzou doesn't lose at home either. That's the big thing.
That's a great point. Yeah.
The home field advantage that has really been created under Drink has been really impressive. So if I'm looking at those three games, and obviously it's the smallest point spread, so I'm not going out on a limb here, but Missouri beating Alabama is easily the most obvious choice in terms of an upset. If Illinois beats Ohio State, it feels like Ohio State probably gives it to Illinois. With all due respect to Indiana, I still think they're a step behind Oregon, and that big game being at Oregon is not great for Indiana. So I'm not, of the three, the only upset that would not just surprise me would be Missouri.
Yeah, I'm with you guys.
And Kalen DeBoer, granted, he gets a lot of credit for beating Georgia 2 years in a row in Athens, okay? But they've lost 4 or 5 games on the road the last couple of years. They're very erratic on the road, and that plays. And, the only team over the last 3 seasons got a better home record than Mizzou is Oregon in Power 4. No, it's the Mizzou has never had a 3-season home advantage the way they do right now under Drink.
That's crazy.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, and I know the point spreads tell a lot of the story, but I've watched a bunch of Bama. They don't feel the same. I know they beat Georgia, but there's a lot. They don't run the ball the way that they used to, and I'm not sure why that is. Oh, I guess I know why that is, because they're not as good up front, and it's just not the same thing, right? And we have to kind of acknowledge, too, that some of the talent is continuously being spread out. It's not like 10 years ago. NIL has done that. The portal has done that. And you don't have all the best players just sitting back up at Alabama waiting to start. No, now they're starting somewhere else. So they're not the boss man that they used to be.
And I would say that Alabama, based on all the metrics I studied today, and I did a deep dive, I would say that their run defense is respectable, but it's not imposing.
Yep.
I'm waiting for evidence that tells me that any team is going to be able to shut down Mizzou's running game. This running game is very, very special. Very, very special.
Yeah, it's a great matchup to look for this weekend. And obviously, we'll have more on all of these big games coming up later on in the week. And, of course, we'll have more baseball as we go to the playoffs continue. You've got the Dodgers and Phillies, nothing right now. That game's going on. Looking forward to seeing how these next few days play out in that record. You guys have fun tomorrow night. Bernie, thank you for pinch hitting tomorrow. I appreciate it. I'll be out chasing ghosts with DGS. You guys will be here talking sports, and I'll be back on this show on Wednesday. We've got the Chiefs coming up after the top of the hour, pregame after the 6 o'clock news, and then obviously the kickoff coming up just after 7 o'clock for Monday Night Football. So that's what you got coming up here on your home for the Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs. KMOX.
The legendary Fast Eddie of Fast Eddie's Bon Air and Redbirds Hall of Famer Jason Isringhausen.
Hey, Izzy, what's going on?